Okay, we're going to jump into this article and then provide some commentary afterwards. This is in follow-up from an article that came about a week ago. So, the title of the article is North Carolina Farmer Weighs In on China Agricultural Spray Drones Battle by Elaine Watson, June 24th, 2024. So, let's read the article and then give some government and political input, because this transcends national borders. This is an international issue. So here we go. This only came to most people's attentions when it passed in the U.S. House of Representatives, but I can tell you farmers in my state, North Carolina, have been blowing up the phone lines of Senator Budd and Senator Tillis about this, says Russell Hedrick, a first-generation farmer growing corn and soybeans on a 30-acre farm in Hickory, North Carolina. Hedrick, who holds his state's record for soybean yield and the world dryland corn yield record, was speaking to AgFunderNews following last week's article on proposed legislation targeting Chinese drone maker DJI Technologies, the market leader in ag spray drones in the U.S. The Countering CCP Drones Act, House Resolution 2864, would add equipment and services from DJI to the so-called covered list, blocking DJI from getting FCC licenses for future drone models and potentially leading to the revocation of existing FCC authorizations. While the bill, which is being driven by Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, was first introduced in April of 2023, it has only recently got onto the radar of many farmers after it was tacked onto a defense spending bill that passed in the House on June 14th, giving it a sudden surge of momentum. Should similar provisions be added to the Senate version of the bill and get signed into law, they could come into effect by the end of the year. I had no idea about this until it passed in the House. According to Hedrick, who uses DJI drones to spray his crops, this would have a huge impact on U.S. farmers. I had no idea about this until it passed in the House and came to my attention. But if this goes through, it's going to have a negative impact on agriculture production in the U.S. He added, if we had American-made drones using American-made parts with American-made software that were as affordable and as good as DJI, we wouldn't have an issue. But right now, they don't exist, and I don't see them existing in the next 5 to 10 years because we don't have the capacity and technology to keep up. If they are worried about China, why are they just focusing on DJI? XAG, another Chinese drone maker, also operates in the US. Plus, you've got US drone companies that use Chinese parts or software. There's a limit on what ground sprayers can do after a crop reaches a certain maturity. Hedrick utilizes multiple different types of DJI drones. He said, we use the T40, the T50, a Mavic 3E for mapping, and we do NDVI, Normalized Difference Vegetation Index analysis, so that we can apply the appropriate amounts of nitrogen. He added, initially a local farmer had but one DJI drone, and he sprayed my farm for 3 years, and then last year we invested into the T40s and Mavic 3Es ourselves, and we also plan to help other farmers with their crop production. So we've been using them for 4 years, and by far the tech is superior to anything else out there on the market, at least at the moment. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that there's a limit on what ground sprayers can do after a crop reaches a certain maturity that these drones can then handle, which really increases their crop production. As for traditional aerial spraying approaches using planes and helicopters, he said, there are safety concerns, and they are not as good as drones. Airplanes and helicopters do not apply the materials as well as utilizing the prop wash and the vortexes on a spray drone. Drones utilize a vortex effect created by the rotor wash to spread out and distribute the atomized liquid. Everything that could be gotten from the images of a drone our government already freely gives away. As for security concerns around using DJI drones, he said they, supporters of the bill, keep talking about national security, but everything that could be gotten from the images of a drone our government already freely gives away. And not just from the quarterly USDA crop reports, but you can go to the USDA Farm Service Agency and just ask for a field map. So, for example, there's a military installation here in North Carolina, and the whole thing is printed on that map, which is also available on the USDA website. As for the application point of view, China can't monitor what I'm putting on my crops. I don't input that. He added, it's also worth pointing out that there's never been one confirmed case of a DJI drone being hijacked mid-flight. It's just fear-mongering. As to what stands to gain from legislation curbing DJI's activities in the U.S., one obvious beneficiary is U.S. drone maker Skydio, claimed Hedrick, who noted that Skydio's director of federal policy used to be National Security Advisor to Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, who introduced the Countering the CCP Drones Act to Congress. There are clearly vested interests at play here. says Hedrick. Asked whether opponents of the bill are overreacting, he said the problem is that we don't know how it will be interpreted as the language is not specific, which creates uncertainty. U.S. farmers have invested hundreds of millions of dollars in this technology, and people who have no idea how we raise crops in the U.S. are making decisions that can ultimately affect huge numbers of people. DJI. Unfounded allegations and xenophobic sentiments should not dictate public policy. In a statement sent to AgFunderNews, DJI Technologies said it was committed to engaging with U.S. policymakers to ensure that decisions are made based on the quality and safety of our products rather than the company's country of origin. Together with its diverse customer base, said the firm, we oppose proposed legislation that could severely limit access to vital drone technology, a tool that is integral to their operations and economic success. The company added, the actions taken against DJI suggest protectionism and undermine the principles of fair competition and an open market. The Countering CCP Drones Act risks setting a dangerous precedent where unfounded allegations and xenophobic sentiments dictate public policy, potentially jeopardizing the economic well-being of the U.S. We don't have specific market share numbers to provide, but a rough estimate suggests that approximately 4 out of every 5 AGRAS drones utilized by U.S. farmers are DJI models. Based on our current assessments, products with prior FCC authorization will most likely not be affected if the act is passed. However, FCC does have the authority to revoke prior authorizations for brands that appear to be covered list. At this point, it's unclear whether they will choose to exercise this right. So, end of article. And there's 2 key points here if we want to jump right into the politics. Well, maybe 3. But first would be, as the gentleman interviewed in this article, who, congratulations to him, has 2 records in the state of North Carolina. It says state record for soybean yield, Mr. Hedrick, and then world dryland corn yield record on his 30-acre farm in Hickory, North Carolina. Okay, but his quote was pointing out that there is Mr. So for her former National Security Advisor, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, who introduced the Countering the CCP Drones Act, her former National Security Advisor is currently Skydio. Skydio's current Director of Federal Policy used to be the Congresswoman National Security Advisor, who is, then this Congresswoman is the one who brought forward the bill. The bill didn't make a lot of success over the last year and a half, and then they pegged it onto a national defense bill. So that would be the first notice. The second is at the end of the article, where it says that we don't know the specific market share, but it says 4 out of every 5 drones, so it seems there's a huge market share for drones. So if you're a farm in the U.S., there's an 80% chance that you are using one of these DJI drones. And then it says, based on current assessments, products with prior FCC authorization will most likely not be affected if the act is passed. However, the FCC does have the authority to revoke prior authorizations for brands that appear on its covered list. So it seems to be a coin toss retroactively if this defense bill is passed and includes this drones covered list, that you could have thousands and thousands and thousands of drones that will lose their license according to the FCC. And then third, which is just general feedback from the company that it would be affected, is that this drone maker, DJI Technologies, says that it's really against free market, and then they said it's xenophobic. And then they also said that limiting this vital drone technology is integral to their, meaning U.S. farmers' operations and economic success. So it seems that if this were to pass, it would really adversely affect thousands of farmers to really save money and farm most efficiently. So people can determine either way how they feel about this bill. The fact that it's pegged onto a national defense bill, but it certainly seems that you have a drone maker that's the market leader, the global market leader, is doing much better than any domestic drone maker. And then in a previous video that we've done, because it seems that about a week ago there was also an article written by Elaine Watson discussing this as it's building momentum, because it's a bill that's being proposed and soon voted on. uh, both this article and the former article said that if there was better U.S. drones, the farmers would use them, but they don't exist. And the former article also pretty much mentioned that if the elected officials wanted to protect their farmers, they would have been all over this a long time ago. But it seems to be the opposite, because now it's being forced into, it's snuck into a larger bill. But the first point made about the sponsor of the bill from New York, Elise Stefanik, their former national security advisor, is the current director of policy. So federal policy for Skydio. So Skydio could be a domestic or non-Chinese drone maker that could directly benefit from this. So that's a case study of lobbying in action. That's a case study of politics. And this article, this follow-up article from Elaine Watson, does a great update. And with these last few minutes since finishing the article, we've given you the 3 key points, our 3 key takeaways of what's going on, and we will keep everybody updated if this passes or fails in the House floor vote.